Hello, everyone. It's your boy Jeff again here. Happy New Year. Hope everyone has a happy and healthy 2020. Um, God knows I sure could use a good year. So just got to keep hope alive. That's all you can do when a new year starts, right? Still got the Stephen King Rules shirt on. Knocking out a couple of videos this morning. Thank you to Beth for giving me this shirt. It's awesome. She's a fellow Stephen King fan. And this is a Spin Zone video. So, not true to the title, I have not seen The Rise of Skywalker yet. I've been meaning to, just haven't had time, and the couple times we've tried, they've all been sold out. So I still hope to catch it while it's in the theaters. Traditionally, I've seen every Star Wars movie the first time in the theaters. So I'm hoping maybe this weekend or sometime next week to catch it. So that was why I called this The Rise of the Spin Zone. But on the bright side, I did get a Fire Stick for Christmas this year, and I was finally able to access Disney Plus on our TV downstairs because we got it free for a year through Verizon, and we binge watched The Mandalorian. All I can say is it's the best Star Wars I've seen since, well, recently since Rogue One. Quite honestly, I haven't been all that happy with the latest trilogy of Star Wars movies, but just about everyone I've talked to who've seen it says that Rise of Skywalker is supposedly the best one. So my hopes are high for that. But I can say unequivocally that if you're able to get Disney Plus and you're a Star Wars fan, you have to watch The Mandalorian. It is fantastic. To me, I call it Star Wars done right because it's a great story. It's told well, very economically. The episodes aren't that long. Most of them are about 30 minutes. And there's so many things in there from the movies that you see that are used in different ways. And, the effects today are so much better than they were back in the 70s and 80s. When OG fans like me were dying for each new movie to come out. That it's amazing. So hoping the quality level of Star Wars under Disney's rule is continues to be as good as this because they set the bar really high with The Mandalorian. So first off the bat, it's not music related, but boy, if you're a Star Wars fan, even if you're just a casual Star Wars fan, you need to watch The Mandalorian. So there's that. Secondly, before I get to the records, just as kind of a little year in review thing, like I said earlier, 2019 was kind of rough, especially the last quarter of the year. And I just want to thank everyone for their love and support for me and the family while my wife was going through her surgery. She's still recovering. She's lost 90 pounds since a little bit before this started. So she looks like a completely different person now. It's amazing. And one of my presents to her this year was money so she can buy herself some new clothes because she badly needs new clothes. So her recovery is progressing. Now that we're into the new year in January, we're starting to look at when she can go back to work and resume life completely normally the way it was before. So the end is in sight. But everybody out here that knew about it in the VC was tremendously kind, tremendously thoughtful, and I just wanted to say thank you. It means a lot. Hits me in the feels, for sure. Okay, I've got 10 records here that I've played since my last Spin Zone. And let's just start. First, we do some blues with Little Walter. Hate to See You Go. Saw Emma had this one over at 8 Vinyl Low. And I came across it not too long after I saw it in one of her videos. So the cover is pretty beat, you know, but the record is in really great shape. And this consists of recordings done in the 50s mainly. You can see the track list there. It's just Chicago blues, man. Great stuff. You know, Little Walter's a harp player, harmonica if you want to call it that. And this is a great album. So I found this in one of the record stores when I went to McHenry County back in the fall. So I was in the mood for some blues, played this, and it went down just fine. So highly recommended if you're wanting to hear some quality Chicago blues from the 50s. This is a reissue, of course. You know, it's not an original. This came out, I think this reissue came out in the 80s. But still on the Chess record label. Little Walter, Hate to See You Go. Quality stuff. Quality stuff. Then I crossed off one that's been on my want list for quite a long time. That being Nirvana's Unplugged in New York set. This is the brand new reissue. It's a double album set, and it contains a couple of their rehearsal tracks on the final side of the disc. But yeah, this is probably one of the most famous, if not the most famous, unplugged sets that ever was. So it stands tall with the time that's passed by since its release, which I think it's been 25 years since this came out, and it sounds just as good now as it did then. And the performance kind of gets, it gets a little more power, knowing that it was only, a couple months after this was filmed that Cobain killed himself. So it makes it a little sad, but boy, music is just great. So Nirvana's Unplugged in New York. I think I used, I don't often buy records at Barnes & Noble, but I had a coupon. I think it was like a 30 or 40% off coupon. And then I used my member card and I was able to get like another 10% off that. So I ended up paying much less than cover price. So that's the reason why I went to Barnes & Noble to get this. But it's well worth the money. So should be in almost everyone's collection, I would think. MTV's Unplugged in New York. Then we got Jose Feliciano. This is his double live set, Alive O. Here's the back cover. Like I said, I think I said in my last Spin Zone, man, it's been getting so long since I've made these in between, I forget what I show. I remember saying that I enjoyed, his covers of Light My Fire, especially California Dreaming. And this was good. This was an enjoyable listen, but over the course of 4 sides, this is a double album. It got, there were some parts of it that weren't the best, but the parts that I liked, I really liked. So, and even though this cover, you can see it's got a ton of ring wear, the records played pretty decently. And this is one of the ones that I got for free from that seller who gave me that massive stack of records. So for the price, you can't beat it. So I think I've got my fill of Jose for now, but this was a good listen while I was listening to it. And then, of course, a lot of these records coming up here were Christmas VCLT. Bill from the Vinylverse sent me this album here. This is Us by Peter Gabriel. In fact, you can see the note. I always stick the note in the sleeve to help me, remember as the years go by. Yeah, I didn't have this album My Peter Gabriel collection stopped with So it was a very nice surprise to get this in the mail from Bill for Christmas. So thank you very much. This is a double vinyl set, and boy, a fantastic album. I'd never really listened to it all the way through, beyond the hits, but Steam, of course, is one of my favorites off this one, which I think was a single release. And I was humming that song for probably a week after I heard it again, even though this is an older album. But thank you again, Bill. This was a great pick for me because we love Peter Gabriel. Then had to spin some John Mayall. I got this as VCLT from Emma, among other records. This is Hard Road, as you can see, from John Mayall and the Blues Breakers, featuring Peter Green as a member of the band. And of course, you can see the note from her I put in there. This was one that I could not wait to spin. After I opened the package and saw it was in there, this got played pretty quick. And just like the Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton, this album is just as good, I would say. You could maybe argue that it's even better than the Clapton one, maybe. I don't know. If you're a big enough Peter Green fan, I think you can make the case. But and this is a fantastic condition copy. The cover is super clean, and the record played flawlessly, like brand new. So thank you very much, Emma. This was a great pick to send me as VCLT. And it will get spun many times in the future, no doubt. Then, as part of my little birthday present to myself, I got an Amazon card from my mother-in-law. So I spent it on a couple of records. I didn't spend all of it on records, but I did end up getting this B.B. King album, Completely Well. This is, of course, the classic album of his that has The Thrill Is Gone on it. Here's the gatefold. I'll just show you the gatefold quickly. Definitely a funkier album than I was expecting. But damn near every track on here is killer. And Completely Well came out in '69, so this had a 50th anniversary last year, along with so many other records and me. So, yeah, I'd been wanting to get this for a while, and I just pulled the trigger on it when I had a gift card to spend. So this was a very well worth it purchase. Completely Well by B.B. King. Then I got even more VCLT from Sean over at Sean's Vinyl Corner. Spun this, I think, the day that I opened it. This is the Urge Overkill Stull EP. Never heard of this one. I hadn't known that this even existed. And of course, features the original lineup of the band. I think this was before their major label debut. Girl, You'll Be a Woman Soon is featured on here. And that's probably the most well-known track, I think, of theirs. It was featured on the Pulp Fiction soundtrack, and I know it was a big hit for them. But the rest of this is just a shot of pure power pop from the early 90s. I enjoy Urge Overkill quite a lot. The only album of theirs I had before this was Saturation. Had it on cassette back in the 90s, and I rebought it on vinyl a year or two back. So it was very nice to get some more Urge. So thank you for that, Sean. This was a great little set to listen to. Didn't do a ton of Christmas music this year, but I did find this at the Goodwill over the summer, and I couldn't say no because it was in mint condition. Christmas with Colonel Sanders. I know. Yeah, it's basically just a straight up Christmas album, and there's really nothing too novelty-ish about it. There's a lot of like classical stuff. Henry Mancini, Carol for Another Christmas. Arthur Fiedler and the Boston Pops doing Sleigh Ride. But then you also have Chet Atkins doing Jingle Bell Rock, kind of a twangy version of that song. Charlie Pride doing an original track called Out of the East. So it was kind of a nice mixture of like light classical and country-ish kind of tunes. So I didn't get around to playing this till like the day after Christmas. So I played this and then I spun Charlie Brown Christmas again because that's just a classic and I meant to listen to it during the season, didn't have time. It wasn't until after Christmas things calmed down. And me and Core had, a couple hours in the afternoon and I played this and then I played the Charlie Brown one. So, and Band-Aids Do They Know It's Christmas. I have the 12-inch single of that. So we did all our Christmas music listening the day after Christmas. So even though I know the cover makes you think this is like a novelty record, it really isn't. And doing just a tiny bit of research on this, I guess KFC had these albums as you could buy them in 67, 68, and 69. This is the last one from 69 that they did. So it's just a perfectly pleasant, light Christmas music album. So, and it only cost me $2.95 at the Goodwill. So I took a chance and it was just fine. Yeah. Then I got several albums for Christmas. If you saw the picture I posted on Facebook and Instagram, that you already know what these are. But one of them was the new album by Santana called Africa Speaks. Here's the back. It's a double vinyl set. And this one is actually more of a classic sounding Santana album than his last few have been. Like, I picked up Santana 4 a couple years back, when he reunited with the original Santana band. And while that was a good album, it had a very glossy production sheen on it. And, it didn't really sound like the old band. Whereas, ironically enough, this one here sounds more like classic early to mid 70s Santana music. A lot of the songs are sung in Spanish, which is fine. I don't care. But the guitar playing by Carlos is just fantastic. And this music is uplifting, positive, full of energy, just great stuff. It's one of the reasons why I love Santana. And this album did not let me down at all. So this is a pretty highly recommended one for me. It's I don't really get too many brand new albums, so it's not like I can do like a best of 2019. But among the albums that came out in 2019, this is one of my favorites. So Africa Speaks by Santana. Do yourself a favor and check it out, especially if you can find it on sale somewhere. And another one that surprised me actually even more than the Santana was Western Stars by Bruce Springsteen. This was his album from 2019. Here's the back cover. And as you get from the title and this picture, this is Bruce's stab at more of like a country-ish type of sound. So, but it's not so much that it sounds like a country album. You just get, a little bit of that high lonesome sound in his music. Actually, this album is very has a very lush production on it, very smooth, very. I wanted this to listen to this in like surround sound, believe it or not. The music was very, very well done. Very had like a melancholy tone to it. A lot of strings on here, to give it that lush sound. I can't think of like another greater adjective than that. And it serves well because his voice, Bruce's voice has always been a little bit on the rough and ragged side, so it kind of counterbalances things very nicely. And boy, this was actually the first album of his that I'd been interested in listening to since The Rising. His last couple just didn't really seem like it was anything I'd be interested in. until this came along, and then I heard the singles. I heard Tucson Train and Hello Sunshine a while back, and it kind of, kindled my interest a little bit in this. So I had this on my wish list on Amazon, and I know my wife was hot to listen to this too, so she bought it for me for Christmas, and we played it the other day, and it was wonderful. I have to say, it's nothing like his old records, if that's what you're looking for from Bruce these days. But it was a very, um, it's probably, the best album of his that I've heard in quite a long time. Like I said, since The Rising. I haven't really paid attention to Bruce since then. I'd hear a song here and there, and it just wouldn't do anything for me. But for whatever reason, this one hit me pretty good, and it's a home run as far as I'm concerned. So, um, probably not saying anything new here because I know this came out months ago, but Western Stars has got to be one of my favorite albums from 2019, easily. So that rounds out the group of albums that I've played since my last Spin Zone. So a lot of good stuff. In terms of the 78 Cavalcade, I'm going to be continuing with that. I wanted to show you, just as a little bit of a preview, some of the records that I came up with. I know I mentioned I had some country 78s, and I got, a pretty good response on people wanting to hear them. I'll show you what I have. I haven't cleaned these yet, but these could be contenders, and you guys can tell me what you want to hear first, or if you want to hear these at all. I got Lefty Frizzell here. This is called Always Late on the Columbia label here. This doesn't look like it's in such bad shape. Unfortunately, the B side, which is called Mom and Dad's Waltz, has, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see that there. See that there? It's got like major, major scratches on the surface. So this side probably is not going to be too playable, but I do have Always Late as an option if you're interested, if you want to hear that. Set this aside here. Then I've got Hank Snow on the RCA Victor label. This one's called Nobody's Child. And on the other side is The Only Rose. Again, I freely admit to not knowing much about these records. Best I can figure is they came out probably in the 40s or 50s. I've heard of Hank Snow, I've heard of Lefty Frizzell, but I know nothing about any of these songs. So if anybody wants to clue me in, feel free in the comments. The edge on this one is a little ragged, but it should still be playable. This is Roy Acuff and his Smoky Mountain Boys with Pins and Needles. And then on the other side is the Precious Jewel. So if anybody has heard of that, anybody wants to hear that, let me know. And then I've got a couple of Ernest Tubb. Of course, I know who he is, but don't know these songs. I've got Unfaithful One on the Decca record label. And then on the back is I Love You Because. And these look, they look up to be, they're probably not going to sound as good as the last bunch of 78s I played, but like I said, I'll try to clean them and we'll hope for the best. And the last one here is also by Ernest Tubb. We got Blue Eyed Elaine. And on the other side is Our Baby's Book. So I'm going to take another pass through that box of 78s that I got a couple weeks ago, and I'll see what else is in there. But those are the country ones that I pulled. So again, if anyone has any requests out of that, what they want to hear first, let me know down below in the comments, because I'll probably clean these later today and have them ready to play shortly. So there will be more 78 Cavalcades coming. And yeah, there's just, a ton of music that that I got for my birthday and Christmas. I got a ton of music as VCLT from you guys out there. So there's so much that I want to play. I wish I could listen to it all at once. I know I can't, but I know I keep saying this, but I'm going to try to be more consistent with spin zones going into the new year. Hoping that will happen, and hope you guys keep watching. So once again, thank you all for watching and commenting, as always. I love you all, and I hope 2020 is a good year for you. Hope it's a good year for everyone. We need a good year, guys. We need a good year. All right. Oh, and before I forget, I know there's, we usually do New Year's resolutions. I don't know if you still do them, but I told my wife yesterday, because we went out to dinner with a couple of friends of ours on New Year's Eve, and I told her that, speaking of Bruce Springsteen, he's supposed to be touring with the E Street Band. I know I saw it online sometime in the fall, a couple months ago, that he was going to tour with the E Street Band in 2020. I told her, I don't care how much it costs. I don't care when it is. I don't care if I have to wheel you up in a wheelchair. We're going to see the boss. He's big on my bucket list. So that was my New Year's resolution to her and to me. So I'm hoping to find out more about that soon as the year commences. It's going to be an expensive show, but I'll save my pennies and nickels and dimes for it. So that's my New Year's resolution. So if you have any New Year's resolutions, put them down below. And until then, take care. Hope to see you again soon. Peace, everyone. I love you all, and have a good 2020.